Howdy, friends. So one moment, if you would, please. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Christopher Manti. And this is a special live, kind of impromptu Bible study. And kind of want to broadcast this out to everyone. Hopefully you can see it all right. Welcome all again from around the world. And the issue is when you're going out to many different locations.
Right.
Oops.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Christopher Manti.
I don't need to hear that. Okay. And so again, once we have many sources that this is going out to, it gets a little weird. And I'm dealing with several cameras and all the rest of it. So anyway, love you guys. Bear with me just a moment while we get things going. The screen that you see here, sorry for the millions of pictures. I'm going to share my presentation here in just a moment. As long as we find out we can see everything, then we will begin. All right, it's good enough. It's the old saying, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, right? Hey, hello, James. Welcome, sir. So, what we are doing is continuing the 10 signs the return of Jesus is near. Now, we had, let me just make sure this is working on the screen. Should be fine. We tried this already last week, and a few of you might have already seen it. Not a whole lot, but that was the issue. Is that the format that we use, the format and the Zoom resource, wasn't too popular. You folks didn't like it. You didn't want to download it. You didn't want to go. That is the way it is. That is fine. So we took a poll through the Endtime.Church Facebook page and through the website and email and all that. And the overwhelming response from you guys is you want a live broadcast like this on Facebook or YouTube. Some didn't mind the online church, which is how we do our services every Monday night, 8 p.m., be there. And that would have worked also, but again, harder to find. You actually have to say, yes, it's me, I'm here, that step. And so folks really weren't too excited about that. Anyway, so we're providing this right now. So we've got Facebook Live on the Endtime.Church page, Wings of the Eagle, my personal page as well, all three of those YouTube channels as well, and the Endtime.Church group. So you all should be notified that this is on. So there's no excuse now for not knowing what's in the study and for not participating. All right, so now we know. If for whatever reason, by the way, welcome to YouTube viewers, you have a question or comment that wasn't addressed and you want to ask it, just either put it in the comments here or send an email to Christopher@Endtime.Church. Okay? Because this is the study that I am presenting for the next 4 weeks. Again, I apologize for any lighting issues or whatever, but I hope you can see and hear me okay. I trust that you can. Let me know if there's an issue. Hello, Brian. Welcome, brother. So again, I know some of you have gone through this already. Where's that? Oh, that's in the picture. Looking for a glare. Some of you have gone through this already last week, and to that, maybe you want to go through it again. That is fine. But if not, here is what we covered last Thursday evening, and we want to be able to present it to you. Again, if feedback is great. I'm not going to be able to do a whole lot of instant feedback today, but I will try to get to you, and email will work as well. Okay? All right. So once again, this is from Endtime.Church. This is a presentation of our live Bible study called 10 Signs the Return of Jesus is Near. Yeah, the TV is fine. All right, so we've gone through a bunch of setup here to make sure you can... See, the issue is, I know nobody really cares, but I've been at this all morning. Ideally, the plan was to do this early in the morning, believe it or not. But now it's 12:40 Eastern Time on Wednesday. When you go broadcast to more than one source, you can't share your screen. You say, wouldn't it just be easier to share your screen? Well, yes, it would. And I would love to be able to do that, but if you're going out to multiple places, you can't. Or not without thousands and thousands and thousands of professional setup and boards and mixers and routers and all the rest of that stuff. So we don't have that. So here we are. All right. So this is the price we pay for that. Okay, Brian. Yeah, Brian's ready. All right, folks. Alex. Hey, Alex. It's up to you, man. No excuse, he says. All right. So we want to go ahead and offer this right now. This is called the 10 Signs Return of Jesus is Near, Part 2. False prophets calling for the beast. We're going to cover the Islamic end times, the Arab Spring, and ISIS. Yep, all that stuff right now. In Part 1, if you didn't recall, we covered, first of all, the point of signs in general, why there are end times signs, why Jesus told us these things. And why signs are important generally. Why do we care? Well, why does it matter? Won't he just come one day and that'll be that? Well, no. It's not that. It's not that easy. He would have us do more and be aware of more. All right, so last week, basically after we've established why the signs are here, we covered the state of Israel. The founding of the state of Israel is the first sign of the end times because, like we mentioned, without that, nothing else in the prophets can happen. The second coming cannot happen without the state of Israel, the actual nation of Jews in the Middle East. It's a prophecy itself. It has to be there. The conditions couldn't be met unless it was. That's just the way it is. So that was the first sign, and it was a very obvious sign, and it got a lot of the church in the world awoken to the fact that there are prophecies to come, and then, oh man, maybe this is one. Maybe I better get to studying. And so when most of the world was amillennialist at this point, the church, there is no more Israel, or we've replaced Israel, the church, or something silly like that, now all of a sudden we're re-questioning everything, and that's good. So the second sign was the signs of rebuilding the temple, and we've came to the conclusion that, yes, they are very ready to rebuild, and it's not a matter of anything at this point other than permission. Okay? It's not about materials. It's not about raising animals. It's not about Christians going along with it or helping it. That has nothing to do with it. Or God saying it's holy or anything. That's not an issue. That's not the point. The point is that it has to be there, and that all it needs to happen is permission from Israeli government, which they have not given, and the Jordanian or Islamic oversight of the Temple Mount. The governments around Israel control the Temple Mount, believe it or not. Even though Israel has taken it over, they sent troops in 1967 and reconquered it, they intentionally backed off and said, the Muslim nations will now administer the Temple Mount for the sake of peace, okay? So until we get beyond that, nothing will happen, but the rebuilding the temple, the status is ready to go. It just needs permission. Okay. So those are the first two signs that the return of Jesus is near. Number 3 is Islamic end times. What is that? False prophets, we are told, are coming. And I apologize if in the Endtime.Church group, you can't really read this. It's very shiny and stuff on the screen. I apologize. I'm going to present this whole slideshow after we're done, so you can download it and look at it yourself, but the other feeds are much better. Hey, Vitor, that's awesome, man. Thank you. So if you go to the Endtime.Church Facebook page or Wings of the Eagle, then you can see this. Okay? Yeah, not a problem. And again, I will try my best to see if anyone comes in with questions or issues. We will do my best, level best. All right, so sign number 3, quite simply, is the rise of false prophets. Hey, Liz and Tweety, welcome, sisters. Liz in the UK, that's awesome. Okay. Sign number 3 is false prophets themselves, right? Jesus says, many false prophets will rise up and deceive many, Matthew 24:11. No argument there. We all know it. But what kinds of false prophets? See, we kind of, as believers, we just kind of assign that to everyone we don't like. Fellow Christians, other denominations, the Catholic Church, the Charismatic Church, right? The Baptists, whatever, King James only, I don't know, whatever, whoever you want to pick on, all of a sudden gets the label of false prophet. And of course, the Pope is, victim number 1 of that. The issue is, we're told what kind of false prophets the end times we should be expecting. By Jesus, by Peter, by Paul, and John. These guys knew the Lord, so they knew what was going on. Okay? Let's look at 2 Peter chapter 2. And he says there, but there were also false prophets among the people, even as there will be false teachers among you. So teachers and prophets are equated. Who will secretly bring in destructive heresies, even denying the Lord Jesus, who bought them. We know we are bought by the blood of Christ, right? And bring on themselves swift destruction. So it's a destructive, or some translations will say damnable. That means you're going to be damned if you believe this heresy. It's such an outrageous heresy. It's not just disagreements or petty differences among the different types of Christians in the world. I'm just thinking, I hope because I'm recording on the phone, that's the camera today, so I'm going to make sure it doesn't run out of juice. Hang on one second. I have a little recharger. Whoops. Whoopsie doopsies. This will work one way or the other today. I'm not going to get frustrated or any of that stuff. Okay. I think we're good. Until we all fall down. I've given everyone vertigo. This is fantastic. All right. Are we still in here? All right. All right. Anyway, sorry about the distraction. So all right, we have false prophets. Destructive or damnable heresies. So this is something really bad. Hey, Darcy. It's more than just a disagreement among churches, right? If you believe, certain doctrinal things, then you're okay. This is not a destructive, damnable heresy to deny the Lord, deny Jesus as the Lord. That's it. All right, let's go to John. John the Apostle. Little children, it is the last hour. And as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have come, by which you know that it is the last hour. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would have continued with us. But they went out that they might be made manifest, that none of them were of us. Who is a liar? But he who denies that Jesus is the Messiah, the Christ. He is Antichrist, who denies the Father and the Son. Whoever denies the Son does not have the Father either, and he who acknowledges the Son has the Father also. 1 John 2, 18-23. For some reason, I'm getting I want to mess up your view here. Can't see the screen anymore. Okay. Alex says false prophets are amongst us. Well, yes. And so it's a sign of the last hours, okay? The last times, the end times before Jesus, is that there are antichrists who have, John says, come out from us. From what? From the church. That they might be made manifest, so they have to be revealed. There's only one belief system that has ever been established under the premise that God is not a father and he has no son. Only one. That's Islam. What about this went out from us? That leads people to believe that these are just Christians who went into weird beliefs. Islam came from Christianity. Islam was intentionally formed again by Muhammad to usurp the authority of Jesus. That Jesus wasn't actually the final word. He was just one in a line of prophets, and that Islam was superior, and Muhammad was superior to Jesus. So it is a Christian cult. Okay, it acknowledges the Old Testament and the New Testament as true, even though today you won't find any Muslims who will open a Bible because they say it's all corrupted now. But the originals weren't. And so the Injil, the gospel, is actually true, and Jesus told the truth, and he pointed people to the same one God of the Old Testament. This is how Islam teaches. But Islam came out of that. So it literally came out of Christianity. The followers of Jesus, okay? Some of the first converts were Christians. Okay. 1 John chapter 4 goes into more detail. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits whether they are of God. Because many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God. Every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you heard was coming and is now already in the world. So the spirit of Antichrist denies that Jesus, the Messiah, has come. Again, Islam would say, well, yes, he's the Messiah, but he wasn't born of a virgin, or they'll him and haw about that. He wasn't crucified, he didn't die for our sins, he didn't rise from the dead. That Jesus Christ that the Bible describes is not real, according to this belief system. That's the Antichrist belief system. That there's something different than that happened. All right? I know this is not only Islam that can fall in there, but they check off that box as well. Okay? We have more. Now from Paul. So we've heard from John and Peter. Here's Paul. And again, guys, I really apologize. The screen, which was coming up now, is not showing up clearly in the video. I guess it's because I keep dropping my camera. I don't know really how to fix that. But maybe I'll take a break here in a minute. So anyway, we have Paul now. If someone comes and proclaims another Jesus, different than the one we proclaimed, or if you receive a different spirit than the one you received, or a different gospel than the one you accepted, you put up with it well enough. Another Jesus. So these people are, they can't defend their faith, they're weak in it. They don't realize that they're hearing about another Jesus, not the one that really existed. There's another version. Galatians 1. Again, Paul same thought. But even we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel to you than the one we have preached to you, let him be accursed. That's pretty serious language. As we have said before, now I say again, if anyone preaches any other gospel to you than what you have received, then let him be accursed. That's serious business. Well, here's the thing. Does Islam teach another Jesus? Yes, they do. He's called Isa. They say, yes, he was real. Yes, he existed. Yes, he wrote. The Gospels are written about him, but those Gospels are gone. They're forged. They're different. So there's another Jesus. Oh, and by the way, Muhammad found this information out from an angel who claimed to be Jabril. Right? It says if an angel from heaven preached another gospel to you. That's exactly what happened. An angel came to Muhammad and preached another gospel to him. Precisely. And you can say, well, okay, Islam did this and, Mormonism? Joseph Smith? Okay, you got two choices there. But only one is checking off all the boxes, right? And the goal of all this is what Jesus says, the many false prophets shall arise. It leads to the one false prophet. And where's that? Revelation 13, 11 through 14, which it says here, then I saw another beast coming out of the earth. He had two horns like a lamb and spoke like the dragon Satan. When you say the lamb or a lamb, what do you think of? The Lamb of God. Earlier in Revelation, Jesus is the lamb slain, right? Well, now there's somebody who looks like the lamb but speaks like Satan. Looks like Jesus. He exercises all the authority of the first beast, the government, the alliance of nations, called the first beast, the seven-headed, ten-horned thing, okay? Calls all the earth and the whole, exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. We'll get to that later. He performs great signs, so that even he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs, which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast, that'll come up again, who was wounded by the sword and lived. Revelation 13. There's a lot in there. Obviously, we should know that Paul describes the same character, and Jesus describes the same character as one with miraculous powers granted by Satan. And I'm going to try to make our picture a little better here because there's some real quality slides here that I want you to see. So bear with me just a second. Okay. I'm going to try this. Just mess everything up. Okay. Again, apologies, guys. I really tried to give everyone the best shot at this to view, but oh well. Alrighty, let's just plow on here. And maybe, hopefully, we can see us a little better. If not, oh well. Okay, so we've gone through false prophets, all right? The clear teaching of the Bible. So in the last days, there will be an antichrist spirit. There will be many, Jesus said, many false prophets. Going out to the world as a sign of his coming. All right? So I think we're beginning to see that there is a spirit of Antichrist, and he denies the Father and the Son, and that he preaches another Jesus and another gospel. An angel from heaven actually came and did that. Okay, here's what we must understand. And this is in love, okay? Should not be any type of challenge or hatred or anger from the church about this. We must understand that huge majority of Muslims throughout the world today believe they are living in their end times. There is end times in Islam. Current events in the Middle East are convincing them of this. Now we both say, well, there are Sunnis and Shias and there's disagreements. Well, to a point, but then they all come together in what they call the major portents, the big signs of their end times. And they all agree on this. These are the main Islamic beliefs about the end times. There will be a period of tribulation, wars in and around the Muslim nations, what they consider to be the Middle Eastern nations, culminating in war in Syria, which we are seeing right now. Specifically, northwest Syria near Aleppo, where Islamic armies will fight the Christian nations. It's pretty hard to dismiss the fact that that is happening right now. That has been happening for a few years now. And that amazingly, over and over again, the conflict zone with Russia, with America, with Israel, with ISIS, with Iran, Turkey, all these nations are in northern Syria, northwest Syria, near the borders with Israel, the Golan, Turkey, right? That whole little area is a tinderbox. All right, so that's where the Muslims are told in their scriptures that the end times will happen. Number two, after that, after this tribulation period of a great war culminating in Syria, a man called the Mahdi means guided one, will emerge. Depending on which kind of Islam, either Sunni or Shia, you'll call him the Caliph or the Khalifa or the Imam. But either way, he's the last one and the greatest one ever in history, the leader of the Muslim peoples. He will unite the Muslim lands. That's what they believe. One man called the Mahdi will do this. Unite the Muslim lands, the ones who happen to be surrounding Israel. And he begins his reign, his career, by making a 7-year peace agreement with, and this is a quote from their prophecies, a Jew of priestly origin, meaning like a son of Aaron, ending the controversy of Jerusalem. So one of his big first acts, he unites the Muslim world and solves the Israel-Jerusalem issue. No. But we do know the Bible is right, and God's word must happen. And when we see such an alignment, we have to at least give thought to the fact that, wow, maybe God is allowing this religion, this system, to play this role. Okay, after that, after the Mahdi makes this 7-year deal, Jesus will return. Muslims believe this. Jesus, they call him Isa, okay, which really is not really Jesus, is a whole new name. But anyways, they believe Isa, being Miriam, Jesus, son of Mary, will descend after the 7 years begin, some point after, they don't know exactly when. He will descend from heaven because they believe he was in heaven. They believe God took him to heaven, but he didn't die. They don't believe he was crucified and was resurrected, and then, no, God just took him alive, kind of like Enoch. He will come down from heaven to assist the Mahdi and his caliphate, the group of nations, and lead the world's worship of Allah, of the one true God, and this caliphate, this group of nations. He will claim, of course, like I said, he was never crucified, and he never rose from the dead. He comes to, and again, this comes from the Quran, break the cross, or the crosses. The meaning of that is he kills Christians who won't convert. He comes to kill all the swine. The swine are the Jews. In other words, anyone who won't convert, they'll present the case. This Jesus, the leader, will come and say, hey, you want to convert to Islam? Because I'm really the one you're following. And we say, no, thank you, you're dead. All right? That's his job. He's the enforcer. After that, this is from their literature now, the beast from the earth will rise. Didn't we just read that in Revelation 13? The beast from the earth will rise, but this is a good beast. He's not bad. He's good. And he will speak. And if you read later in Revelation 13, we see the image of the beast and that it speaks, right? This beast will speak and enlighten the foreheads of the true Muslims, the true believers, to show who this Jesus and caliphate, don't kill them, they're true believers. So you have in the forehead an image, a beast speaking. It's kind of hard to ignore after a while. And one more thing. So after all that happens, the earth is made Islamic, okay? There's no more opposition. They're all killed or converted. After the whole world's made Muslim, the Mahdi and Jesus will die because they're just men. They're going to die. Then Allah ends the world and sends everyone either to one of the 7 levels of heaven or 7 levels of hell for all eternity. Okay? That's the end times of Islam. And I really hope this can show up on our screen here and show you because these are powerful images. This is the Sunni version of the caliphate. There you see on your screen, hopefully, the man with a glowing white face. You can't see his face. There's light all over. He has a giant shield and a sword and a bird around him and rose petals and all. That's the Mahdi. That's the Caliph, the final Mahdi. Then next to him, right behind him in the white robe, is Jesus Christ. Also with a giant sword. Not quite as nice as the Mahdi's sword, but okay. Jesus is right there. And there's this shield that all these warriors behind them are wearing. This is the name of Allah and the pledge to Islam and all that. All right, so there you have it. That's the Sunnis. And what about the Shiites, the Shia, like the Iranians? They don't believe this stuff, right? This is a billboard from Iran. Tehran, Iran. Right in the middle. It was taken a few years ago. This is the Mahdi. They call him Imam Mahdi, not the Caliph. But anyway, there's the Mahdi with carrying the flag in the front. Right behind him is Jesus. Okay? The blue covering. They all say he has red hair because that's what the hadith say. And of course, next to Jesus, you have the leader of Hezbollah and some of the leaders of the Iranian government. Of course. Okay, so the point is, they both believe the same thing. They both are expecting Jesus to come after the Mahdi to assist him, which sounds like the false prophet. Here's what I mentioned earlier about many leading to the one. Something to consider is many false prophets or antichrists, which is what Jesus and John were saying, may mean that very soon here, we may see more than one man emerge claiming to be the Mahdi, claiming to be this guided one of Islam, to unite the lands. There may be more than one. So just watch. That is the third sign. By the way, welcome to all, and I apologize if the screen is not showing up great, but that's how it goes, I guess. We are live. Endtime.Church presents the live Bible study, 10 Signs of Jesus, 10 Signs the Return of Jesus is Near. I'm Christopher Manti, one of the pastors at Endtime.Church. I'm also president of Wings of the Eagle Ministry. If this study blesses you, I highly encourage you to give to our church or to Wings of the Eagle. Just go to endtime.church/donate or wingsoftheeagle.com/donate. Anything you can give would be highly appreciated. Pastor Jake McCandless and I are 100% fully committed to seeing this through. There is no other jobs. Okay, we're not going to get work somewhere else. This is it. So we trust the Lord will provide. So if He's leading you in that, please give generously. And we tithe. I tithe. Pastor Jake does. So this is not. We all do the same stuff. Okay. So again, this is Endtime.Church. 10 Signs, Return of Jesus is Near. That was sign 3. So now we're on to number 4. Sign 4 is the Arab Spring. Hopefully you guys remember. God bless you, Marisol. Hopefully you guys remember the Arab Spring. It just happened recently. In some ways, it's still going on. It's very prophetically important. What are the scriptures on this? What does this possibly have to do with the Bible? And again, I really apologize for the screen issues. Whoops. Can I Jimmy rig this whole thing? Maybe this will help. I'm not sure. What are the scriptures about this? Is there possible, we know there's the nations in the Middle East all of a sudden were getting really crazy and overthrowing their leaders, and many changes were happening starting a few years ago. It seemed to come out of nowhere. Well, let's take a look at Psalm 2, for example. Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The nations means the goyim, the Gentile nations surrounding Israel. That's what it means there when it says the nations. It doesn't mean America or Russia or China, okay? The Gentile nations around Israel. Why do they rage and their people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth, meaning them, 10 kings to come, okay, set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord, Yehovah, and his anointed, his Christ, his Mashiach, his Messiah, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. So they want nothing to do with Christianity or the God of the Bible. These ones who are raging. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall hold them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his deep displeasure. So the wrath of God is coming. And he says, yet I have set my king on my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord Yehovah has said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. So this is the whole controversy. This is the whole purpose of end-time prophecy. This is the whole issue over Jerusalem and over the nations. The Gentiles who would rage. It's about the Son of God. Right? And they want to break free of that. From his anointed, okay? From Jesus. So they're raging around and they're plotting something really bad. They're going to overthrow what? Zion. But God is going to laugh at that and put his king there anyways. But that's their plot, right? That's their plan. That's their conspiracy. Again, not New World Order stuff. Okay, we're talking about specific nations having a specific plan to do one specific thing about Zion. Also look at Revelation 13. Same thing is described. Then I stood on the sand of the sea, or some translations say the dragon stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. So it's just like Psalm 2. It's in blasphemy against the true God, against Christ. We'll get into the heads and horns in a second. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. And we're going to keep going back to this. So I've underlined these animal parts. It's important. It's vitally important. It's not only a little important. It's not a nice to know. It's required knowledge that you know this. A beast I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads that had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast. So they worshipped the dragon, Satan, who gave authority to the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like the beast, who is able to make war with him. So this is, first of all, critically important to know why God would bother to describe it in this way. Leopard, lion, and bear. And then also it says the world wondered after the beast. So the beast is not the world. In other words, it can't be every nation. There are other nations who are worshiping it. How's that possible? If you're in the beast, you're not worshiping something else. You know what I mean? It's a specific geographic area, and that's what these lion, bear, and leopard is all about. It's going to tell you where they are. And this is coming together. Satan's behind it, absolutely. He's going to unify that portion of the world against Zion, against Jerusalem, against the Jews, and against the Christians who would stand against it. That's the point of it. And says, who is able to make war with him? There will be those who make war with him, but they'll lose. That's the point. All right? So what does that do with the Arab Spring? What was the Arab Spring? From 2011 to 2014, it was a series of revolutions, uprisings, attempted coups, etc., throughout the Muslim world. Mostly in Arab nations, which is why it's called the Arab Spring, but it happened in non-Arab nations too, like in Iran and even in North Africa. Some succeeded, some failed, some forced immediate reforms. The most serious impacts were in Libya, Egypt, Yemen, and Syria. And all of those nations are still reeling from that today. All of them. Syria is still going on. That's the result of the Arab Spring. And again, hopefully you can see this picture okay. These are the governments that were affected by the Arab Spring. As you can see, there are many. And this is almost the whole Islamic world in this part of the earth. There's Indonesia, of course, and many Muslims in Pakistan and India. And Turkey really kind of wasn't affected, but it kind of was with their whole fake coups and all that stuff. Anyways, as you can see, the government was out and out overthrown in Libya and Tunisia. And we've been trying our darndest to do it in Syria ever since. Egypt was basically overthrown by their own army. The Muslim Brotherhood came in. Remember that whole thing? And then they were reversed out, and we'll talk about this later as well. Jordan had to go major reforms immediately to avoid being overthrown. Morocco had to do the same thing. Algeria and Iraq are lawless states to this day because of this. And there are protests throughout, even Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Lebanon, Yemen, of course. Yemen has been extremely affected with now where a civil war has been going on for 2 years. Basically, it's a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And so this has had major effects throughout the Muslim world. So was it really spontaneous? Was it really just out of nowhere? Was it a response to America or the West or something? No. What were they calling for? I call this calling for the beast. Okay? Why? There it is. I believe this is in Egypt. This is one of the major, it could be in Syria, it could be another place. I believe it's Egypt. During the Arab Spring, many demonstrations and mass protests and things. Look at, this is the goal. This is the aim of the Arab Spring. What is it? Unification. This is one giant flag of other flags of all the Muslim nations. This is the goal. You don't notice America's flag on there. You don't notice, okay? These are Muslim flags. Saudi Arabia, you see at the top. You see Syria, you see Iraq, you see the Palestinian areas, Egypt, Mauritania, bunch of guys, Lebanon. So this is the goal. This is the beast that they're calling for, is the unification of all these nations, which are right now nowhere close to unified. Understand? All right, this is the goal. This is what when I say calling for the beast, this is why. And again, I apologize for the video quality if you can't see these things. Oh well. By the way, happy to have you all. This is Christopher Manti of Endtime.Church. Please go to Endtime.Church, check it out, get a rundown of what we believe and why it exists, and that it's here for you. If you're an end-time believer and either you have no church or maybe you're underground and you can't meet securely, this is for you. Endtime.Church will also help any pastor throughout the world who wants help in training their folks to get ready for the end times. That's why we're here. That's why it exists. So please take advantage and help us to continue these things. Okay, so let's continue here. Again, YouTube, hello, Facebook, and the group. There's a group out there. It's not even private. You can go join it, Endtime.Church group. You can sign up for notifications and all that. You can sign up for text notifications. Before my camera falls again. You can sign up for text notifications if you text the word prepare. I'm sorry, I'm getting an urgent message. What is it? Are you okay? Okay. So, you can get text notifications. You text prepare to 3. I always forget. I always forget. Now that I bring it up, I have to go look. It's on the website. Go to Endtime.Church. You'll figure it out. It's also on the Facebook page. 31996. 31996. Text prepare. And then you'll get automatic notifications when Endtime.Church comes on the air. And when we have Bible studies Thursday nights. All right? So that's what we're going to try to do. By the way, we are going to have part 3 here tomorrow night. So stand by. It'll be at a different location. We'll be at my physical church locally that we're presenting this to as well, where I'm still an elder. Okay? So that's, this is one thing we want to be sure to drive home to you also, is that we don't want to replace, if you're in a congregation now, if you're in a local church and God's working through them and through you in there, awesome. Great. This is a supplement. It's not a replacement. But if you are looking for a church home, we are open all day, every day. Okay? Very good. All right, so let's continue on. So we've gone through now sign 4, 3 and 4. Now we're going to go into 5, which is ISIS. The Caliphate resurrects in Iraq and Syria, the land of ancient Babylon. Remember we just read Revelation 13 and I highlighted the animals in the beast? Let's look at it again. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard, his feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. Okay. Well, what's that about? It's Daniel chapter 7 is what it's about. Because it tells you what the lion is in there if you look at Daniel. So let's take a look. Daniel 7, 2 through 4 says, I saw in my vision by night, behold, 4 great winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea. The great sea is the Mediterranean Sea. That's in Genesis. And 4, so this is the area, okay? It's not the world. It's not everywhere. It's not the Atlantic Ocean. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, each different from the other. The first, so it's a time component. Chronologically, there's a first one to come, and it's the lion. The first was like a lion, and it had eagle's wings. And I watched till its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, given a man's heart. Daniel 7, 2 through 4. One thing, and we're going to cover this more tomorrow. We're going to go through the scripture on it. One thing you have to understand about Daniel is that it repeats itself. God has repeated a message to the prophet Daniel over and over and over and over. Daniel did not understand it. He did not get it. He did not see the pattern. But Daniel's an end-time book. He said it would be sealed until the time of the end. That's what chapter 12 says. And yes, there are some history in it. There's King Nebuchadnezzar, of course, right? And he has this great dream. We all have the big famous dream in chapter 2 about the image or the statue of all these metals. And Babylon, of course, was, under Nebuchadnezzar, were the ones who invaded Jerusalem. 700 BC, 600 BC, and took the people of Judah, the kingdom of Judah, which was where Daniel was from. He took them from home. So there's that. There's a historical component, and there's no doubt about it. We see, in fact, in Daniel, where the kingdom of Persia came after Babylon and invaded and took over their land. So we have precedent. So every image, every prophetic picture that we see, Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 10, and 11, all are repeating themselves. They have different images, different animal pictures, different descriptions, different concentrations. One's a wider view, some are very close view with details. But he keeps repeating himself over and over and over. There's 3 kingdoms in Daniel that keep coming up. The first is Babylon. Second is Persia, and the third is Yavan. And we'll get more into that tomorrow. But the first is the lion. It's Babylon. So it's an end-time Babylon, not mystery Babylon. That's why it's called mystery, because it's a different location. But the lands of ancient Babylon were what? Iraq, and Syria. That's where King Nebuchadnezzar ruled. And what happened? Anything happened in Iraq and Syria the past few years after the Arab Spring? Well, yes, the results of the Arab Spring, both physically in the nations and in the minds of their populations, was, if you combine that with the civil war in Iraq, the perfect storm. In 2014, after all these things had happened and got mixed together and exploded, what happened? A beast rose in the lands of Babylon. Where King Nebuchadnezzar used to rule, ISIS was formed. A caliphate, the one that they're calling for, was begun on June 29th, 2014. In the exact lands of ancient Babylon, the exact lands. This is a sign, folks. Iraq and Syria. It was called the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or Sham, okay? ISIS. ISIS, just like Daniel is pointing out, it says first was the lion. It's only stage 1 of the beast. Didn't Revelation say there were 3 different animals? And then they all come together with 10 kings, right? So stage 1 is ISIS. 3 more will follow. And here, again, I hope you can see this okay. These are graphic illustrations. Why? It's easy to see. What I did was we put down the Babylon of King Nebuchadnezzar and the ISIS territory when it first declared a caliphate in 2014. It's almost identical. Hopefully you can see that this is what God is talking about. And again, the image below, you can see the plans of ISIS all along were to control what are the modern nations of Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and even Israel. That's their eventual goal. Now, they are not going to try that at this point, but the point is, this is what they're after. Okay, and it's just one part. The caliphate is bigger than this. But this is what they call the Islamic State. By the way, the ruler, the head of this Islamic State, he is a caliph, okay? His name is Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. That's not his real name, of course. Abu Bakr was the first caliph after Muhammad died. Anyway, this is his ebook, his free book you can go get. I don't really know why you'd want to, but this is saying that it's revived. It says the revived caliphate. That means something that had died and has come back. I'm the one to do it. 2014 CE, Common Era, okay, because they refuse to say AD, Year of Our Lord. They say Common Era, 2014. That's when the revived caliphate occurred. Well, for something to be revived means it had to be dead. Revive means back from the dead. Let's read Revelation 13 again. I saw one of his 7 heads, as it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. So all the world marveled and followed the beast. They worshipped the dragon who gave authority, who was like the beast who was able to make war. So this is a warlike head to the beast. There's 7 of them, right? So one of them looks like it was dead. One of the heads, one of the 7, was dead. And it came back. It was healed. It was resurrected, revived. Now this is where, again, a lot of folks would take the thought, because of prophecy teachers, and they're all meaning well and all that, but they're teaching a revived, resurrected Roman Empire, that head was the one who comes back. But that's not what the Bible says. If we look at Revelation 17, verse 8 through 11, the beast that you saw was, it was alive, is not died, and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. Perdition means destruction or hell, death. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. Mountains, oros. Oros is not hill. This is not a city on 7 hills as you've been taught probably. It's not true. Not what it says. Oros are mountains. Mountains. Nations. Kingdoms. How do we know it's kingdoms? They are also 7 kings. So the 7 heads are mountains with kings. Those are kingdoms. They are 7 kingdoms. 5 of them have fallen, John is told when he wrote Revelation. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. Which 5 had fallen by the time Revelation was written? If you look back through the scriptures, you don't have to go outside the Bible for these things, they're all in there. Egypt, what was the first anti-Israel, anti-Jewish persecutor, wanted to control the people, wipe them out? Pharaoh. Egypt was the first head. After that, who was the next enemy to actually have success against Israel and to come against it? Assyria. Then Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon. Head 3. Then, as we read in Daniel, Persia. Again, this is history, yes. Persia came in, 4. After that, Yavan. Okay, Yavan is we'll get into this more tomorrow, a regional power of the coastlands. And in history, Alexander the Great was that commander of that region. Now, this is not a fulfillment, but this is one of the 7 heads. Okay, so Yavan was the 5th head. Now, it says 5 had fallen. By the time of John, all those kingdoms were gone. One which was Rome. It says 1 is. 5 fallen, 1 is. Rome was the one that is. That's the Roman Empire that he was under, that Jesus was crucified under. That was Antichrist, who persecuted the Christians, fed them to the lions. Okay? Clearly, this is Rome. And they were persecuting John. They were the one that threw him in prison. This is where he was getting the revelation, was from a prison island that he couldn't get away from. That's Rome. The one that is Rome. But there's another after Rome, it says. After Rome, not another Rome, okay? One after that replaced it. And again, with Daniel chapter 2, we get into really proofs of how this definitely is not Rome that come after Rome, duh. 1 comes and has not yet come. When he does, he must continue a short time. That means he's cut short, dies. The beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th kingdom, and is of the 7, and is going into perdition. Of the 7, the 7th is the one that is only reigning for a time and then is cut off. All the others were conquered by the previous. The 7th kingdom was not conquered. It just died for a time. Then it was revived. The 1 head in Revelation 13 that was mortally wounded was healed and is now back. Any guesses? First of all, we know what it can't be, which is the 6 heads before it. It can't be Rome, it can't be Yavan, it can't be Persia, it can't be Babylon, it can't be Assyria or Egypt. Not any one of those. It's the 7th that comes back. I'll leave it to you to decide. That is the end of this part 2 of the Bible study, which we originally presented last week. Hopefully you've got something out of this. Hopefully we get a lot more viewers, which I know we do, because we got several just now. So this is being impactful more than our previous attempt. But if there's any questions, I will try to address that now. And again, this is a presentation of Endtime.Church. Endtime.Church. Pastor Jake McCandless and I are the leaders of it. Robbie and Leah Harridge are our worship team. Pastor Chris Anderson is helping us out in many ways as well as many folks And please feel free to volunteer to help us in a way that God's telling you to. Part 3 will be tomorrow. And let me disconnect myself here. All right. Part 3 will be tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I really hope you can join us, because it'll be something special for sure. Part 3, we're going to cover the next phases of the beast. We've seen part 1 rise. We've seen ISIS. It's Babylon. The lands of Babylon have come back, and the beast is beginning to come up. Phase 2 we'll see is the bear. 3 is the leopard. And then this 4th phase, when they all come together, it includes one specific piece that isn't in the group until that time. And so we'll go over that tonight, and I hope tomorrow night, excuse me. And so I hope to see you there. Now I'll scroll around for any questions or comments or concerns. Remember, we are live with Wings of the Eagle, Facebook and YouTube, Endtime.Church, Facebook and YouTube, the Endtime.Church group, my personal page as well. Anything on this today that you had an issue with or about? Michelle, good morning to you. Thank you. I see you are on our YouTube broadcast. That is great. Don't want to see no signal on there. I know some of this is different information. Some of the stuff you might have known or heard before from us. Hey, Matt. Here's Chris. Chris Van Buren is his name on YouTube, on the Wings of the Eagle YouTube channel. Bless you, sir. He made a very nice comment. He listened to the podcast last week? About a heartbreaking bird, and that was two episodes ago. It was very surreal, very hard to explain. I want you to know that I do believe God is communicating with me via signs, and the show was profound. God was using you to talk to me personally. So much of what you said on that show fit right in with my feelings at that exact time. So bless God. Thank you, my brother. That's just what he does. That's the Holy Spirit for you. It's just how he works it. Okay. So, hopefully this is beneficial to you. We've certainly got some viewers here who are interested. And I really apologize. I don't know what happened with the camera and the not wanting to stay put, and then the screen didn't show up. It was good, then it wasn't. Anyways, love you guys, and we may be going overtime here. What time is it? 1:45. Yeah, I've been on for too long. All right, guys. Love you. Bless you. Again, if we've witnessed to you and been a help. Hey, don't want to hear you. Bless you in Jesus' name. I love you so much. Until next time, tune in tomorrow night, Endtime.Church. Live Bible study.